The damaged human spacecraft plummets through the atmosphere of an uncharted alien planet. Inside, Arthur Kennedy, a battle-hardened soldier, braces for impact. The ship crashes, ejecting Arthur onto the hostile world. Arthur's eyes snap open. Pain radiates through his body as he regains consciousness, amidst twisted metal and sparking circuitry. He struggles to his feet, surveying the alien landscape. Unfamiliar vegetation surrounds the crash site. Strange bird-like creatures screech overhead. A distressed cry pierces the air. Arthur's combat instincts kick in. He moves towards the sound, his hand instinctively reaching for his sidearm. As he pushes through dense foliage, he spots the source, a Romulan female clutching an infant. The Romulan woman, Dana, spots Arthur. Terror flashes in her eyes. She attempts to flee but collapses, her injuries too severe. The infant wails in her arms. Arthur approaches cautiously, hands raised to show he means no harm. Dana's green blood seeps from multiple wounds. The infant's cries grow weaker. Arthur reaches for his emergency medical kit, salvaged from the wreckage. Dana flinches as Arthur kneels beside her. He works quickly, applying pressure bandages to her wounds. The infant's skin is pale, signs of dehydration evident. Arthur produces a nutrient pack, carefully feeding the child. A low growl emanates from the nearby forest. Arthur's head snaps up. Multiple sets of glowing eyes peer from the shadows, predators drawn by the scent of blood. Arthur positions himself between the approaching threat and the vulnerable pair. He draws his weapon, a determined set to his jaw. The creatures emerge, six-legged beasts with razor-sharp claws and elongated jaws filled with needle-like teeth. The first creature lunges. Arthur fires, his shot finding its mark. The beast falls, but others attack. Arthur engages in hand-to-hand combat, using his military training to fend off the onslaught. Claws rake his arm, drawing blood, but Arthur fights on. The battle is intense. Arthur sustains injuries but ultimately prevails. The last creature falls, and silence descends on the clearing. Arthur turns back to Dana and her child, his breath ragged. Dana's eyes are wide with disbelief. She watches as Arthur tends to her wounds again, the realization dawning that this human is her protector, not her enemy. As darkness falls, Arthur constructs a shelter using debris from his crashed ship. He gathers Dana and the infant, ensuring their safety within the makeshift structure. Unable to communicate verbally, Arthur and Dana exchange glances. A tentative trust begins to form. Arthur tends the fire, his gaze scanning the alien forest. Dana cradles her child, her eyes never leaving the human who saved their lives. Neither realizes the profound impact of their encounter, a meeting that could reshape the future of human-Romulan relations in this unexplored region of space. As the alien world's moons rise, casting an eerie glow over the landscape, Arthur settles in for a long night. He knows the morning will bring new challenges, but for now, he focuses on keeping his unlikely companion safe. The crash landing that stranded him on this hostile planet has set in motion events that will challenge everything he thought he knew about his supposed enemies. The first rays of dawn filtered through the makeshift shelter, casting a soft glow on the sleeping forms of Dana and her infant. Arthur stirred, his soldier's instincts rousing him at the first light. He sat up quietly, careful not to disturb his companions, and surveyed their meager supplies. The reality of their situation struck him anew. They needed more sustainable resources if they were to survive on this alien world. Arthur retrieved a piece of salvaged metal from the crash site and etched a crude map onto its surface. He marked their current location and sketched out his intended exploration route. Placing it near Dana, he gathered his weapons and slipped out of the shelter. The alien forest buzzed with unfamiliar sounds as Arthur made his way through the dense vegetation. His boots sank into the spongy ground, leaving tracks that he carefully obscured behind him. Years of military training had honed his senses, and he remained alert for any signs of danger. After an hour of trekking, Arthur's ears caught the faint sound of running water. He pushed through a thick cluster of fern-like plants and found himself at the edge of a crystal-clear stream. Kneeling down, he tested the water, finding it cool and fresh. He filled his canteen, marking the location on his mental map. As he continued his exploration, Arthur's keen eye spotted several plants bearing fruit-like structures. He recognized some from his survival training and carefully harvested a selection, making note of their locations for future foraging. The sun had climbed higher in the sky when Arthur stumbled upon something unexpected. Partially hidden by vines and overgrowth, the weathered remains of an alien structure rose before him. Intrigued, he approached cautiously, his hand resting on his weapon. The ruins were unlike anything Arthur had ever seen. Smooth, curved surfaces met at impossible angles, defying Earth architecture. As he circled the structure, his fingers traced strange symbols etched into the stone-like material. Their meaning eluded him, but their presence hinted at an advanced civilization. Arthur's explorations led him to what appeared to be an entrance. Overgrown and partially collapsed, it beckoned to him with the promise of secrets within. He hesitated, weighing the risks against the potential rewards. His military training urged caution, but the need for resources overrode his hesitation. Carefully, Arthur made his way inside. The air grew cooler as he ventured deeper into the structure. His eyes adjusted to the dim light, revealing walls covered in more of the mysterious symbols. As he ran his hand along one wall, searching for clues, his fingers caught on a raised section. There was a sudden rumble, and Arthur stumbled back as a hidden door slid open. Heart pounding, he peered into the revealed chamber. The room beyond held an array of objects that could only be described as advanced technology. Sleek devices lined the walls, their purposes unknown but their potential undeniable. Among the artifacts, one device caught Arthur's attention. Its design was familiar, reminiscent of communication devices he'd seen in his military career. Could it be a universal translator? The potential to finally communicate with Dana spurred him into action. Arthur carefully collected the translator and a few other promising items, securing them in his pack. As he prepared to leave, a flashing light on one of the consoles caught his eye. He approached it cautiously, noting the erratic pattern of the blinking. Was it a distress signal? A warning? The mystery would have to wait. He needed to return to Dana and the infant. The journey back to the shelter seemed quicker. Arthur's steps quickened by anticipation. As he approached, he saw Dana standing outside, her posture tense. When she spotted him, relief washed over her features. Arthur held up his hands, showing he meant no harm, and slowly approached. He offered the universal translator, and together they worked to activate it. After several tense moments of adjustments and calibrations, the device hummed to life. "Can you understand me?" Arthur asked tentatively. Dana's eyes widened in surprise. "Yes," she replied, her voice tinged with awe. "I can understand you perfectly." With the barrier of language finally broken, Dana introduced herself properly and named her infant daughter Lyra. Arthur explained his military background and how he came to crash on the planet. As they talked, Arthur distributed the supplies he had gathered, showing Dana the edible plants he had found. "I'm a scientist," Dana revealed as they shared a meal of the alien fruits. "I was fleeing from an oppressive regime on my homeworld. The data I carried, it could change everything." Arthur listened intently as Dana explained the significance of her research and the danger it posed in the wrong hands. The weight of their situation grew heavier with this new information. As night fell, they discussed their next steps. The ruins Arthur had discovered offered the promise of more advanced technology, perhaps even a way off the planet. They agreed to relocate there the following day. "We should be prepared for any outcome," Arthur said, checking his weapons. "Your pursuers or my people might come looking for us." Dana nodded, cradling Lyra close. "Together, we stand a better chance." As they prepared for sleep, Arthur found himself drawn to Dana's resilience and intelligence. He noticed her watching him with a mix of curiosity and growing trust. The shared experience of survival was forging a connection between them that transcended their different species. With plans laid for the morning's journey, Arthur took first watch. As he gazed out into the alien night, his mind raced with the possibilities and dangers that lay ahead. The ruins held secrets that could ensure their survival or lead to unforeseen complications. Whatever challenges awaited them, Arthur was determined to face them head-on, with Dana and Lyra by his side. As the first light of dawn painted the alien sky in hues of amber and violet, Arthur and Dana stirred from their uneasy sleep. The events of the previous day had forged an unexpected alliance between them, and now they faced the daunting task of survival together. Arthur packed their meager supplies while Dana tended to Lyra, whose soft coos filled the makeshift shelter. With a nod of readiness from Dana, Arthur led the way into the dense foliage, retracing his steps from the day before. The alien forest buzzed with life as they trudged through the underbrush. Arthur's military training kept him on high alert, his eyes scanning for potential threats. Dana followed closely behind, Lyra secured tightly against her chest. "Watch your step here," Arthur warned, pointing to a patch of spongy ground. "The terrain's unstable." Dana nodded, carefully placing her feet where Arthur had stepped. As they navigated the alien landscape, Arthur shared his knowledge of the edible plants he'd discovered, showing Dana which fruits were safe to eat. The journey was arduous, with the group stopping frequently to rest and hydrate. Arthur's muscles ached from the previous day's battle, but he pushed through the pain, knowing their survival depended on reaching the ruins. As they neared their destination, the vegetation thinned, revealing the weathered structure Arthur had discovered. Dana's eyes widened at the sight. Her scientific curiosity piqued. "Fascinating," she breathed, taking in the impossible angles and smooth surfaces of the alien architecture. Arthur led them to the entrance he had found before, now partially cleared of overgrowth. "Stay close," he advised as they ventured inside. The cool air of the ruins enveloped them as they stepped into the dim interior. Arthur activated a salvaged light source, illuminating walls covered in mysterious symbols. Dana ran her fingers along the etchings, her mind racing with theories about their origin and meaning. As they explored the outer chambers, Arthur and Dana discovered a treasure trove of alien technology. Medical devices, food synthesizers, and other unidentifiable gadgets lined the walls. "Look at this," Dana exclaimed, examining a sleek device. "This appears to be some sort of advanced medical scanner. It could be invaluable for our survival here." Arthur nodded, gathering the most promising items. "Let's see what else we can find deeper inside." As they ventured further into the ruins, a sudden hum filled the air. Arthur instinctively reached for his weapon, pushing Dana behind him. In a flash of light, holographic figures materialized around them, their translucent forms flickering with an otherworldly glow. Dana gasped, clutching Lyra tighter. "What are they?" The holographic beings began to speak, their words translated by the device Arthur had found earlier. They told of a once great civilization that had used this planet as a hub for interstellar diplomacy and scientific research. The holograms shared tales of technological marvels and peaceful cooperation between species, but also spoke of a mysterious catastrophe that forced them to abandon their home. As the holograms faded, Arthur and Dana exchanged looks of wonder and apprehension. The weight of their discovery settled upon them, along with the realization of how much they had yet to learn about this alien world. Their exploration led them to a vast chamber that took their breath away. Before them stood a small spacecraft, its sleek design unlike anything they had ever seen. "It's incredible," Arthur murmured, circling the vessel. "If we can get this operational, it could be our ticket off this planet." Donna's excitement was tempered with caution. "Even if we can power it up, do we have the knowledge to pilot such an advanced craft?" Before Arthur could respond, a weak cry from Lyra caught their attention. Dana's face filled with concern as she felt her daughter's forehead. "She's burning up," Dana said, her voice tight with worry. "I think the alien environment is affecting her." Arthur's mind raced, recalling the medical equipment they had found earlier. "Let's get her to those devices we saw. We might be able to use them to help her." They hurried back to the outer chambers, where Arthur helped Dana set up the alien medical scanner. As they worked to diagnose Lyra's condition, their hands brushed together, sending an unexpected jolt through both of them. Their eyes met briefly, a moment of connection amidst the crisis. Using the advanced technology and their combined knowledge, they managed to stabilize Lyra's condition. As the infant's fever broke, the tension in the room eased, replaced by a sense of shared accomplishment. In the quiet that followed, Arthur and Dana found themselves standing close, the adrenaline of the moment giving way to an awareness of each other. The air between them seemed to crackle with unspoken attraction, their faces mere inches apart. Before either could act on the impulse, a faint beeping sound caught their attention. Arthur moved to investigate, finding a console hidden behind a panel of strange symbols. "It looks like some kind of distress signal," he said, studying the flashing lights. "But where is it coming from?" Dana joined him, her scientific curiosity overriding the moment of intimacy. "It seems to be originating from somewhere deep within the ruins. Perhaps there's more to this place than we've discovered." As they contemplated this new mystery, Arthur and Dana made the decision to set up a more permanent base within the ruins. They began the process of creating living quarters, utilizing the technology and resources they had found. While they worked, stolen glances and lingering touches betrayed their growing attraction. The shared experience of survival and discovery had forged a bond between them that transcended their differences. As night fell on their new home, Arthur and Dana stood at the entrance of the ruins, looking out at the alien world that had brought them together. The mystery of the distress signal loomed in their minds, promising further adventures and discoveries. With Lyra sleeping peacefully nearby, Arthur turned to Dana, his voice low. "Tomorrow, we'll start looking for the source of that signal. Who knows what else we might find in these ruins?" Dana nodded, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "Whatever comes, we'll face it together." As they retreated into the ruins, the alien moons cast long shadows across the landscape, hinting at the secrets yet to be uncovered and the challenges that lay ahead for the unlikely pair and their young charge. As the new day dawned, Arthur and Dana wasted no time in beginning their investigation of the mysterious distress signal. They had spent the night setting up a makeshift nursery for Lyra, using the alien technology they discovered to create a safe, comfortable space for the infant. "The signal seems to be coming from somewhere below us," Dana said, her eyes fixed on a holographic display she'd managed to activate. "We'll need to go deeper into the ruins." Arthur nodded, checking his weapon and gathering supplies. "Let's make sure we have everything we might need. We don't know what we'll encounter down there." With Lyra settled securely in her new environment, Arthur and Dana set out to explore the lower levels of the complex. As they descended, the air grew noticeably thinner, and a chill crept into their bones. "The temperature's dropping," Arthur observed, his breath visible in the cool air. "Stay close. We need to conserve body heat." They navigated through winding corridors, their path illuminated by the soft glow of alien light sources. The walls were adorned with intricate symbols and diagrams, which Dana studied with fascination. "Look at this," she said, running her fingers along a series of etched glyphs. "It seems to be some kind of historical record. If only we had more time to decipher it all." As they ventured deeper, they encountered various artifacts and pieces of technology. Some lay dormant, while others hummed with latent energy. Arthur's military instincts kept them alert for potential dangers, while Dana's scientific curiosity drove them to examine each new discovery. After hours of careful exploration, they finally reached the source of the distress signal. The room they entered was vast, its ceiling lost in shadows above. In the center stood a cylindrical chamber, pulsing with a faint blue light. "It's a cryogenic pod," Dana gasped, approaching the chamber. She wiped away a layer of frost from its surface, revealing the figure inside. "Arthur, there's someone in here." Arthur joined her, his eyes widening at the sight of the alien being within. It was clearly female, with iridescent skin and delicate feather-like appendages where hair might be on a human. "She's been in stasis for thousands of years," Dana said, examining the pod's control panel. "The pod's power is failing. That must be what triggered the distress signal." After a tense discussion, they decided to attempt to revive the alien. Using the medical equipment they'd brought from the upper levels, they carefully initiated the revival process. The pod hissed open, releasing a cloud of frigid vapor. The alien's eyes fluttered open, revealing irises that shimmered like opals. She gasped, her gaze darting between Arthur and Dana in confusion and alarm. Dana held up her hands in a placating gesture. "It's okay," she said softly, activating the universal translator. "We're here to help. Can you understand us?" The alien's expression softened as the translator conveyed Dana's words. "Yes," she replied, her voice melodious and strange. "I am Zara. Where are the others?" As Zara regained her strength, she shared her story. She was the last surviving member of the planet's original inhabitants, placed in stasis when a catastrophic solar flare threatened to destroy all life on the planet. Our scientists predicted a series of solar flares, Zara explained, her voice tinged with sorrow. The first would devastate our civilization, but the next, it would sterilize the entire planet. We built a planetary defense system, but we didn't have time to fully power it before the first flare hit. Arthur and Dana exchanged glances, the weight of this revelation settling over them. Is this defense system still functional? Arthur asked. Zara nodded. It should be, but it requires an enormous amount of energy to operate. That's why your ship in the hangar above is depleted. It was connected to the defense grid, acting as an additional power source. As they absorbed this information, a series of tremors shook the ruins. Dust and small debris rained down from the ceiling. We need to get back to Lyra, Dana said urgently. They helped Zara to her feet, and the trio made their way back through the winding corridors. As they climbed, Zara pointed out various systems and explained their functions, filling in gaps in Arthur and Dana's understanding of the alien technology. Upon reaching the upper levels, they found Lyra safe and sound in her makeshift nursery. Dana scooped up the infant, holding her close. We need to formulate a plan, Arthur said, running a hand through his hair. If we can get this defense system operational, it might not only save us but could be our ticket off this planet. As they began to discuss their options, a series of strange energy readings caught Dana's attention on one of the monitoring devices they'd set up. There's something else, she said, studying the readings. These energy signatures, they're coming from a section of the ruins we haven't explored yet. It could be another power source. Or... Her words trailed off as they all contemplated the possibilities. The discovery promised new challenges and potential solutions to their predicament. Arthur squared his shoulders, his expression determined. All right, let's prioritize. We need to understand this defense system, find a way to power it up, and investigate these new energy readings. Our survival depends on it. As they settled in for the night, the group was acutely aware of the ticking clock. The looming threat of the solar flare added urgency to their mission, while the mysteries of the ruins beckoned to be unraveled. With Zara now part of their unlikely team, the dynamic had shifted, adding new layers of complexity to their relationships and their understanding of the planet's importance in the greater galactic context. In the quiet hours before dawn, as Lyra slept peacefully and Zara meditated in a corner, Arthur found Dana standing at the entrance of their base, gazing out at the alien landscape. "Penny, for your thoughts?" he asked softly, moving to stand beside her. Dana turned to him, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "I was just thinking, we came here as castaways, but we might end up being the saviors of an entire world." Arthur nodded, feeling the weight of their responsibility. As they stood there, shoulders almost touching, the alien moons cast long shadows across the landscape, hinting at the challenges and discoveries that lay ahead. The weight of their newfound responsibility settled over them as they turned back to the base, ready to face the challenges that awaited. As dawn broke, Arthur, Dana, and Zara gathered around the holographic display, studying the complex schematics of the planetary defense system. "The energy requirements are immense," Zara explained, her opalescent eyes reflecting the flickering data. "We'll need to locate a power source capable of activating the entire grid." Dana's fingers flew across the alien interface, her brow furrowed in concentration. "I think I've found something. These energy readings, they're coming from an unexplored section of the ruins." Arthur leaned in, studying the pulsing marker on the map. "It's deep within the complex. We'll need to mount an expedition to retrieve it." They spent the next few hours preparing for the journey. Arthur checked and rechecked their limited weapons cache, while Dana packed a bag with medical supplies and scientific equipment. Zara familiarized herself with the translator device, ensuring clear communication during their mission. As they made final preparations, Dana cradled Lyra in her arms, her voice soft with concern. "Are we sure it's safe to leave her here?" Arthur placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We've set up every monitoring system we could find. She'll be secure in the nursery, and we'll maintain constant communication." With a heavy heart, Dana placed Lyra in the makeshift crib. The infant cooed softly, unaware of the dangers that lay ahead for her guardians. The trio set out, descending into the unexplored depths of the alien complex. The air grew thick with anticipation as they ventured into unknown territory. Zara led the way, her innate understanding of the ruins guiding them through winding corridors and vast chambers. They encountered their first obstacle at a shimmering energy barrier that blocked their path. Dana approached it cautiously, her scanner humming as it analyzed the field. "It's some kind of security measure," she muttered, frowning at the readings. "We need to find a way to deactivate it." Arthur scanned the walls, his military training kicking in as he searched for hidden mechanisms. "There," he said, pointing to a faint outline on the wall. "It looks like a control panel." Zara stepped forward, her delicate fingers tracing the alien symbols. With a series of precise movements, she input a complex sequence. The barrier flickered and disappeared, revealing the path ahead. As they pressed on, the group found themselves in a chamber where gravity seemed to shift and twist. Arthur stumbled, his equilibrium thrown off by the disorienting effects. "Stay close," he warned, reaching out to steady Dana. "We don't know how stable this environment is." They navigated the gravity-altering room with careful, measured steps. Dana's scientific knowledge proved invaluable as she calculated safe paths through the fluctuating gravitational fields. Just as they thought they had overcome the worst of the obstacles, the narrow passage they were traversing opened into a vast cavern. The group stood in awe at the sight before them. Stretching as far as the eye could see was an underground ecosystem teeming with life. Bioluminescent plants pulsed with ethereal light, casting a soft glow over the alien landscape. Strange, translucent creatures flitted between towering fungal structures, their movements creating a hypnotic dance of light and shadow. "It's incredible," Dana breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "An entire ecosystem, hidden beneath the surface." As they ventured deeper into this subterranean world, the beauty of their surroundings was suddenly overshadowed by a new threat. A pack of predatory creatures emerged from the shadows, their eyes glowing with an eerie, hungry light. Arthur instinctively moved to the front of the group, his hand on his weapon. "Stay behind me," he ordered, assessing the approaching threat. The creatures, sleek and sinewy, circled the group with predatory grace. Their skins seemed to shift and ripple, blending with the bioluminescent background. As one of the creatures lunged forward, Arthur sprang into action. He fired a warning shot, the energy blast illuminating the cavern. The creatures recoiled but didn't retreat, their hunger overriding their fear. Dana and Zara worked in tandem, analyzing the creatures' behavior. "Look at how they react to the light," Dana observed. "Maybe we can use that to our advantage." Zara nodded, quickly adjusting the settings on their portable lights. She created a pulsing pattern that mimicked the bioluminescent flora around them. The creatures hesitated, confused by the unfamiliar signals. Taking advantage of the distraction, Arthur led the group towards a narrow crevice in the cavern wall. As they squeezed through the opening, one of the creatures made a final, desperate lunge. Arthur turned, shielding Dana with his body. He grunted in pain as the creature's claws raked across his back, tearing through his protective suit. "Arthur!" Dana cried, pulling him through the crevice as Zara sealed it behind them with a portable force field. Safe for the moment, Dana immediately began tending to Arthur's wounds. Her hands trembled slightly as she applied a healing salve to the deep gashes. "That was too close," Arthur said through gritted teeth, his eyes meeting Dana's. The intensity of her gaze, filled with concern and something deeper, made his breath catch. Zara watched the exchange with a mix of curiosity and something akin to longing. The bond between the two humans was evident, and she found herself drawn to their strength and compassion. As they caught their breath and regrouped, a faint humming drew their attention. Following the sound, they discovered an ancient control room hidden within the heart of the underground ecosystem. The room was dominated by a pulsing energy core, its light matching the rhythm of the bioluminescent life outside. Dana approached it cautiously, her scanner confirming their suspicions. "This is it," she said, excitement coloring her voice. "The power source we need for the planetary defense system." As Arthur and Zara worked to disconnect the core, a deep rumbling shook the cavern. Dust and small rocks began to rain down from above. The removal must have triggered a failsafe, Zara shouted over the growing noise. We need to get out of here now. With the energy core secured, the trio began their frantic race back through the collapsing ruins. Arthur, despite his injury, took the lead, guiding them through the treacherous path. Passages that they had navigated with care earlier now crumbled behind them. Dana clutched the energy core to her chest, her breath coming in the short gasps as they ran. Just as it seemed they might be trapped, they burst through a collapsing doorway into the main section of the ruins. The passage sealed behind them with a final thunderous crash. Exhausted and battered, they made their way back to their base. The sound of Lyra's cries greeted them as they entered, a reminder of the stakes of their mission. Dana rushed to comfort the infant, cradling her close. Arthur and Zara shared a look of relief and accomplishment before turning their attention to integrating the energy core into the planetary defense system. As they worked, a new alert caught their attention. A transmission, faint but unmistakable, was approaching from deep space. Arthur's face grew serious as he studied the incoming signal. We need to get this defense system online, fast. We don't know if this transmission means rescue or a new threat. The group redoubled their efforts, racing against time to activate the planetary defenses. As they worked, the emotional undercurrents between them grew stronger, adding a layer of complexity to their already fraught situation. Arthur found his gaze drawn to both Dana and Zara, each woman representing different facets of strength and beauty. The shared dangers had forged a deep connection between them all, one that transcended their differences and origins. As the planetary defense system hummed to life and the mysterious transmission grew stronger, the group braced themselves for whatever challenges lay ahead. Their future on this alien world remained uncertain, but they faced it together, bound by their shared experiences and the growing bonds between them. As the planetary defense system hummed to life, powered by the newly acquired energy core, a brilliant azure shield materialized around the planet. The air crackled with energy, and the ground beneath their feet trembled slightly. "It's working!" Dana exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement as she monitored the readings on her device. Arthur nodded, a sense of accomplishment washing over him. Now we'll be ready for whatever that transmission brings. But their moment of triumph was short-lived. As the shield stabilized, an alarm blared from the control panel, startling them all. "What's happening?" Arthur asked, moving swiftly to Zara's side as she interfaced with the system. Zara's opalescent eyes flickered rapidly as she processed the incoming data. "The activation, it's revealing something, a hidden structure beneath us." The holographic display flickered and expanded, revealing a vast network of tunnels and chambers deep below the surface. At its center lay a sprawling metropolis, its architecture both alien and breathtaking. "An underground city," Dana breathed, her voice filled with awe. "How is this possible?" "It must have been shielded from detection," Zara explained, her fingers dancing across the interface. "The activation of the planetary defense system has disrupted its cloaking mechanism." Arthur's mind raced with the implications. "We need to investigate. This could change everything." As they prepared for their expedition, a new challenge presented itself. What to do with Lyra? They couldn't risk taking the infant into unknown territory, but leaving her alone was out of the question. It was Dana who found the solution. During their earlier explorations, she had discovered an advanced AI system in the ruins. With some modifications, it could serve as a temporary caretaker. "Are you sure about this?" Arthur asked, watching as Dana carefully placed Lyra in a specially prepared cradle. Dana nodded, though her eyes betrayed her concern. "It's the best option we have. The AI will monitor her vital signs and alert us immediately if there's any problem." With Lyra settled, the trio set out for the underground city. They descended through a series of hidden passages, each step taking them deeper into the planet's mysterious core. As they entered the outskirts of the subterranean metropolis, they were struck by its grandeur. Towering spires of crystalline material reached towards the cavern's ceiling, while roads of smoothly polished stone crisscrossed between elegant buildings. "It's incredible," Dana marveled, her scientific curiosity overriding her initial trepidation. "The preservation is perfect. It's as if the city was built yesterday." Zara moved ahead, her steps becoming more urgent. This architecture, it's familiar. This is the work of my people. They pressed deeper into the city, their footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with a group of figures emerging from a nearby building. Arthur instinctively reached for his weapon, but Zara held out a hand to stop him. Her eyes were wide with recognition and disbelief. The newcomers, their features strikingly similar to Zara's, regarded them with a mix of wariness and curiosity. One of them, a tall male with piercing silver eyes, stepped forward. "I am Krell," he announced, his gaze fixed on Zara. "We are the last of our kind, preserved here to escape the catastrophe that befell our world." Zara's voice trembled as she responded in their shared language. The others watched as a range of emotions played across her face: joy, relief, and a hint of something deeper. As introductions were made, it became clear that the dynamics of their small group were shifting. Krell's eyes lingered on Zara, his admiration evident. Arthur found himself dripping slightly, though he couldn't quite explain why. Dana, ever observant, noticed the tension. She placed a hand on Arthur's arm, drawing his attention back to the matter at hand. "We need to tell them about the transmission and the potential threat." Arthur nodded, pushing aside his personal feelings. He addressed Krell and the other survivors, explaining their situation and the approaching spacecraft. Krell's expression grew serious. "We have defenses here that may aid you. Come, we will show you." As they followed Krell deeper into the city, Dana found herself studying Arthur's reactions. She noticed how his gaze kept drifting to Zara, and she felt an unexpected pang of jealousy. Their tour of the city was cut short by an urgent beep from Dana's communicator. "It's a transmission from the approaching ship," she announced, her fingers flying over the device. The message that came through changed everything. The approaching vessel was human, a scientific expedition. But they weren't alone. A Romulan warship was in pursuit, having detected Dana's presence on the planet. Arthur's military training kicked in immediately. "We need to prepare for a potential attack. Krell, you mentioned defenses. What exactly do you have?" As Krell led them to a hidden armory, the gravity of their situation sank in. They were no longer just survivors on an alien world. They were now at the center of a potential interstellar conflict. Dana and Zara immediately set to work on enhancing the planetary shield, their shared intellect bridging the gap between their different backgrounds. As they worked side by side, Dana found her earlier jealousy fading, replaced by a growing respect and friendship. Arthur and Krell, despite their unspoken rivalry, fell into an efficient rhythm as they assessed the city's defenses. The advanced weaponry hidden within the city gave them a fighting chance against the Romulan threat. As preparations intensified, the emotional undercurrents within the group continued to shift and evolve. Arthur found himself torn between his growing feelings for Dana and his fascination with Zara. Dana, in turn, realized the depth of her attachment to Arthur, while also forming a strong bond with Zara. With the human ship drawing closer and the threat of Romulan attack looming, the newly expanded group stood united, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The fate of not just their small band, but potentially two interstellar powers, now hung in the balance. As night fell in the underground city, Arthur, Dana, and Zara found a moment of quiet amidst the preparations. They stood together on a balcony overlooking the sprawling metropolis, the weight of their responsibility heavy on their shoulders. "Whatever happens," Arthur said softly, his gaze moving between the two women, "I'm glad we're facing it together." Dana nodded, her hand finding Arthur's. "We've come so far from being castaways." Zara's opalescent eyes shimmered in the dim light. "And our journey is nowhere near the end." As if on cue, an alarm sounded in the distance. The moment of peace shattered, replaced by the urgent reality of their situation. Without a word, the trio turned and raced back into the heart of the city, ready to face whatever new challenge awaited them. The alarm's insistent wail propelled Arthur, Dana, and Zara into action. They raced through the winding corridors of the underground city, their footsteps echoing off the crystalline walls. As they entered the central command center, a holographic display flickered to life, revealing the source of their urgency. The human ship, Dana breathed, her eyes widening as she took in the information. It's approaching fast. Arthur's military instincts kicked in as he assessed the situation. Zara, status report on the Planetary defense system. Zara's fingers danced across the alien interface, her opalescent eyes reflecting the streams of data. The shield is fully operational and stable. We're ready. A collective sigh of relief passed through the room, but it was short-lived. As the shield shimmered into full power, an alarming sight materialized on the holographic display. "By the stars!" Krell gasped, his silver eyes widening in shock. "A Romulan fleet!" The once empty space around the planet now swarmed with Romulan warbirds, their sleek, predatory forms emerging from stealth mode. The activation of the planetary shield had forced them to reveal their presence. Arthur's lips pursed as he counted the enemy ships. They must have been lying in wait, cloaked in orbit. Before anyone could respond, a transmission cut through the tense atmosphere. A stern Romulan face appeared on the main screen, his sharp features accentuated by the harsh lighting of his bridge. "This is Commander Vex of the Romulan Star Empire," the figure announced, his voice cold and imperious. "We demand the immediate surrender of Dana and all her research data. Comply or face annihilation." Arthur stepped forward, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "This is Arthur Chen. We reject your demands, Commander. This planet is under our protection." As Vex's image disappeared, replaced by the view of the looming Romulan fleet, Arthur turned to his team. "We need to prepare for battle. Krell, you mentioned defenses. What exactly are we working with?" Krell led them to a hidden chamber adjacent to the command center. As the door slid open, Arthur and Dana gasped in awe. The room was filled with advanced weaponry, unlike anything they had ever seen. "Our ancestors left us well prepared," Krell explained, a hint of pride in his voice. "These weapons can penetrate even the strongest Romulan shields." Arthur nodded, his mind already formulating strategies. "Krell, gather your people. We'll need every able body to man these defenses." As Krell departed, Arthur turned to Dana and Zara. "I need you two to focus on the shield. Find a way to let the human ship through while keeping the Romulans out." Dana and Zara shared a determined look before hurrying back to the command center. Arthur watched them go, a mix of admiration and concern in his eyes, before following Krell to coordinate the city's defenses. In the command center, Dana and Zara worked feverishly, their minds melding human ingenuity with alien technology. "If we modulate the shield frequency," Dana suggested, her fingers flying over the controls, "we might be able to create a selective barrier." Zara nodded, her alien physiology allowing her to process information at an incredible speed. "Yes, but we must be careful. The approaching solar flare could destabilize the shield if we're not precise." As they worked, a new alert caught their attention. The human ship was hailing them. "This is Admiral Chen of the Earth Alliance vessel Horizon," a stern voice announced. "We're here to assist. What's your situation?" Arthur, who had just returned from positioning the defense teams, took the call. "Admiral, this is Arthur Chen. We're facing a Romulan fleet and need immediate assistance. However, we have complications." "Complications?" The Admiral's voice sharpened. "Explain." Arthur took a deep breath. "Sir, we've discovered an underground alien city and survivors. Their technology is helping us defend the planet, but—" "Alien survivors?" Admiral Chen interrupted, his voice a mix of awe and concern. "This changes everything. We're coming in. Transmit landing coordinates." As Arthur relayed the information, the Romulan fleet launched its first assault. The planetary shield flared brilliantly as it absorbed the barrage of disruptor fire. "Shield holding," Zara called out, her hands dancing over the controls. "But the power drain is significant." Krell, who had been monitoring the city's systems, spoke up. "We have a backup power source, but activating it could destabilize the planet's core." Arthur's face hardened as he weighed their options. The Romulan attacks were intensifying, and the human ship was still vulnerable as it approached the planet. With a heavy heart, he made his decision. "Activate the backup power source," he ordered. "We need to hold out until the Horizon lands." As Krell initiated the sequence, the ground beneath them began to tremble. Warning alarms blared throughout the city, signaling structural instabilities. "Arthur!" Dana called out, her voice tight with urgency. "We have multiple collapses in the lower levels. There are people trapped." Without hesitation, Arthur moved towards the exit. "I'm going down there. Dana, Zara, keep working on the shield. Krell, you're with me." As they raced towards the damaged sections, the planet continued to shudder. The battle above raged on, the fate of not just their small group, but potentially two interstellar powers, hanging in the balance. The true test of their strength, ingenuity, and unity was only beginning. The true test of their strength, ingenuity, and unity was only just beginning. As Arthur and Krell raced through the trembling corridors, the gravity of their situation became painfully clear. The city's ancient structure groaned under the strain of the Romulan assault and the activated backup power source. They reached the first collapse site, where a group of Krell's people were trapped behind a wall of debris. "Stand back!" Arthur shouted, aiming his phaser at the weakest point of the obstruction. With precision honed by years of training, he carved an opening large enough for the survivors to crawl through. Krell helped pull them to safety, his silver eyes reflecting a mix of relief and worry. Meanwhile, in the command center, Dana and Zara worked feverishly to stabilize the planetary shield. Their fingers flew across the alien interface, adjusting parameters and rerouting power as needed. Suddenly, Dana's eyes widened as she noticed a pattern in the data streams. "Zara, look at this," she said, pointing to a series of fluctuations in the energy readouts. "These variations, they're not random. It's almost as if..." Before she could finish her thought, Admiral Chen's voice crackled through the communication system. "Horizon to ground team. We're entering the atmosphere now. Prepare for our arrival." The arrival of the Earth Alliance vessel added a new layer of complexity to their already precarious situation. As the Horizon descended through the planet's turbulent atmosphere, the Romulan fleet intensified their attack, determined to prevent the human reinforcements from landing. Arthur and Krell returned to the command center, their faces streaked with sweat and grime. "Status report," Arthur demanded, his voice hoarse from shouting over the rumble of collapsing tunnels. Dana turned to him, her eyes bright with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Arthur, I think I've found something in my research data. It's a revolutionary energy manipulation technique that could potentially neutralize both the Romulan threat and the incoming solar flare." The room fell silent as the implications of her words sank in. Arthur's gaze swept over the assembled group. Dana, her brilliant mind already racing with possibilities. Zara, her alien features set in drive. Krell, standing tall, despite the weight of his people's survival on his shoulders. And the holographic image of Admiral Chen, his stern visage awaiting Arthur's decision. "Explain," Arthur said, his voice cutting through the tension. Dana launched into a rapid-fire explanation of her discovery, her words painting a picture of a technology so advanced it could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. As she spoke, Arthur's mind raced, weighing the potential benefits against the risks of exposing such powerful knowledge. The ground shook violently, a stark reminder of their dwindling time. Arthur made his decision. "We'll use it. Dana, Zara, focus on integrating this new technology with our defense systems. Admiral Chen, coordinate with your crew to repair the Horizon and prepare for a potential space battle. Krell, I need you to lead your people in fortifying the lower levels of the city." As the team dispersed to their tasks, Arthur took charge of the planetary defenses. He moved to a central console, bringing up a holographic display of the battle raging above them. With quick, decisive commands, he began coordinating the city's ancient weapons with the Horizon's more modern arsenal. The Romulan fleet, perhaps sensing the shift in the tide of battle, launched a full-scale assault. Disruptor beams lanced through space, slamming against the planetary shield with increasing ferocity. Arthur's fingers danced across the controls, adjusting the shield harmonics and targeting the most vulnerable Romulan ships. "Incoming transmission from the Romulan flagship," Zara called out, her voice tight with tension. The stern face of Commander Vex materialized on the main screen, his features twisted in a mask of terrifying rage. "This is your final warning," he snarled. "Surrender Dana and her research, or we will reduce your planet to ash. Arthur stepped forward, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. We reject your demands, Commander. This planet, its people, and its knowledge are under our protection. We will not yield. As Vex's image disappeared, replaced once more by the view of the raging space battle, Arthur turned back to his team. We need to buy more time. Dana, Zara, how close are we to implementing the new technology? Donna's fingers flew across her console as she replied, We're close, but we need to reconfigure the planetary core's energy output. It's going to take some time. Arthur nodded grimly. Do what you need to do. We'll hold them off as long as we can. The battle intensified, with Romulan ships probing the planetary defenses for weaknesses. Arthur's coordinated strategy held firm, but the strain on their systems was becoming evident. Alarms blared as power fluctuations rippled through the city's grid. Arthur! Dana's voice cut through the chaos. We've got it! We can create a massive energy pulse that will disable the Romulan fleet and deflect the solar flare. But there's a catch. What is it? Arthur asked, already dreading the answer. Dana's eyes met his, filled with a mix of triumph and fear. Someone needs to manually activate the system from outside the shield. It's a one-way trip, Arthur. Whoever goes, they might not make it back. The weight of her words hung heavy in the air. Arthur looked around at his team, each face reflecting the gravity of the situation. Without hesitation, he stepped forward. I'll do it. Arthur, no! Dana protested, her voice cracking with emotion. There has to be another way. But Arthur's decision was made. As he prepared for the dangerous mission, donning a protective suit and checking his equipment, he couldn't help but feel a sense of finality. He looked at Dana and Zara, their faces etched with concern, and gave them a reassuring nod. Keep the city safe, he said, his voice steady. I'll get this done. With a final glance at his team, Arthur stepped into the airlock. As the door hissed shut behind him, he took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. The outer door opened, revealing the chaos of the battle raging above. Arthur stepped out onto the planet's surface, the fate of two civilizations resting squarely on his shoulders. With a deep breath, he activated his suit's thrusters and launched himself towards the energy manipulation device. As Arthur soared through the turbulent atmosphere, the battle raged above him. Romulan ships darted between bursts of weapons fire from the horizon and the planet's defenses. The sky was a canvas of chaos, painted with streaks of phaser fire and the fiery trails of torpedoes. Arthur's heart raced as he approached the device, a sleek obelisk jutting from the planet's surface. He could feel the raw energy pulsing from it, making the hair on the back of his neck stand on end. With practiced precision, he maneuvered himself into position and began the activation sequence. Suddenly, a stray disruptor blast from a Romulan ship struck nearby, sending Arthur tumbling. He grappled with the controls, fighting to stabilize himself as the device's activation countdown continued. With seconds to spare, he managed to right himself and input the final command. The obelisk hummed to life, its surface glowing with an otherworldly light. Arthur watched in awe as a wave of energy burst forth, expanding outward in a brilliant sphere. The Romulan ships caught in its path immediately powered down, their weapons and engines disabled. As the energy wave continued to spread, Arthur felt a sudden, searing pain. His suit's systems flickered and died, leaving him exposed to the raw energy coursing around him. He gritted his teeth, fighting to remain conscious as the world around him faded to white. Back in the command center, Dana and Zara watched with nervous excitement as the energy pulse expanded. The Romulan fleet hung motionless in space, rendered powerless by the alien technology. As the incoming solar flare approached, the energy wave collided with it, dispersing its deadly radiation harmlessly into space. "It worked!" Zara exclaimed, her silver eyes wide with disbelief. Dana nodded, relief washing over her. But her joy was short-lived as she realized Arthur's life signs were no longer registering on their sensors. "Arthur!" she called out over the comm channel, her voice tight with fear. "Arthur, do you copy?" Silence answered her. As the dust settled from their victory, the reality of their situation began to sink in. The Romulan threat had been neutralized, but at what cost? The command center buzzed with activity as they worked to assess the damage and coordinate rescue efforts. Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the comm system. "Ground team, this is the horizon. We're detecting multiple Romulan escape pods entering the atmosphere. What are your orders?" Arthur, who had just been brought back to the command center by a rescue team, stepped forward. His suit was scorched and his face pale, but his eyes burned with persistence. "Bring them in, Admiral. We have bigger issues to deal with now." The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. As the Horizon's crew worked to retrieve the Romulan survivors, Arthur and his team focused on stabilizing the underground city and preparing for the inevitable fallout of their actions. Dana worked tirelessly alongside Zara, using their combined knowledge to analyze the alien technology that had saved them all. As they pored over the data, a realization dawned on them. "Arthur," Dana called out, her voice filled with excitement and trepidation. "You need to see this." Arthur made his way over to their workstation, wincing slightly from his injuries. "What is it?" Dana pulled up a holographic display showing a complex array of energy signatures. "The energy manipulation technique we used, it's not just a weapon. It's a key to unlocking a whole new level of technological advancement. This could change everything." As the implications of Dana's discovery sank in, a new alert sounded. Admiral Chen's holographic image appeared in the center of the command center. "Arthur, we've received a transmission from Earth Alliance Command. They're sending a diplomatic envoy to assess the situation and begin negotiations with the Romulans and—" He paused, his eyes flickering to Krell. "Our new alien allies." Arthur nodded, straightening despite his fatigue. "Understood, Admiral. We'll begin preparations immediately." As the team dispersed to their tasks, Arthur found himself standing alone with Dana. She looked up at him, her eyes filled with a mix of emotions. "Arthur, she began, but he gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "I know," he said softly. "We have a lot to talk about, but right now we need to focus on what's coming. The real challenge is just beginning." Dana nodded, understanding the weight of their responsibility. As they turned to join the others in preparing for the diplomatic negotiations, the air in the underground city hummed with anticipation. The course of galactic history was about to be written, and they were at the center of it all. The following days saw a flurry of activity as representatives from Earth, the Romulan Empire, and Krell's people arrived on the planet. The underground city, once a hidden relic, now buzzed with the energy of three distinct civilizations coming together. Arthur found himself thrust into the role of mediator, drawing on his military experience and newfound diplomatic skills to navigate the complex web of interstellar politics. He worked closely with Admiral Chen, who had taken charge of coordinating the human delegation. Commander Vex, who had survived the energy pulse, was brought to the planet under heavy guard to represent the Romulan Empire. His usually stern face was marred by a mix of anger and grudging respect as he was led into the negotiation chamber. Krell and Zara took their places at the head of the alien contingent, their silver eyes gleaming with a mix of excitement and apprehension. This was their chance to re-establish their civilization's place in the galactic community. As the negotiations commenced, tensions ran high. The various factions vied for control over Dana's revolutionary energy manipulation technology, each seeing it as a key to supremacy in the galaxy. "This technology belongs to my people," Krell argued, his voice resonating through the chamber. "It is our birthright, hidden here for generations." Commander Vex leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Your people abandoned it. The Romulan Empire has the strength and resources to harness its full potential." Admiral Chen shook his head. "Gentlemen, this technology is too powerful to be controlled by any single faction. We need to find a way to share its benefits while ensuring it can't be used as a weapon." Arthur listened to the arguments flying back and forth, his mind racing to find a solution that would satisfy all parties. As the debate grew more heated, he noticed Dana slipping out of the chamber, a worried look on her face. Excusing himself, Arthur followed her into the corridor. "Dana, what's wrong?" She turned to him, her eyes wide with concern. "Arthur, I've been monitoring the city's power core. Something's not right. The energy readings are fluctuating wildly." Before Arthur could respond, an alarm blared through the city. Zara's voice came over the comm system, tight with urgency. Security breach in the power core. We have intruders. Arthur's hand went to his weapon as he exchanged a look with Dana. Stay here, he ordered, already moving towards the power core. As he raced through the corridors, Arthur's mind raced with possibilities. Who could have infiltrated their defenses, and what were they after? Little did he know, the answer to those questions would push him to his limits and test the fragile alliance they had worked so hard to build. Forge. As Arthur rounded the corner towards the power core, he was met with a scene of chaos. Alarms blared, and the air crackled with energy. He spotted Zara near the entrance, her silver eyes wide with panic. Arthur, she called out, intruders have breached the core. They're trying to access the energy manipulation technology. Without hesitation, Arthur rushed forward, his weapon at the ready. As he entered the power core chamber, he saw a group of figures huddled around the central console. Their uniforms were unmistakable. Romulans. Step away from the console, Arthur shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber. The Romulans turned, their faces a mix of surprise and purpose. One of them, a tall, lean man with a scar across his cheek, stepped forward. You're too late, human. We've already begun the integration process. Suddenly, the room filled with a blinding light. Arthur shielded his eyes, feeling a surge of energy course through his body. As his vision cleared, he realized he was being pulled towards the central console, an invisible force guiding his movements. Arthur, no! Dana's voice rang out from behind him. She had followed him into the chamber, ignoring his earlier order. But it was too late. As Arthur's hand touched the console, his consciousness expanded. He felt a rush of information flood his mind, the alien technology merging with his own thoughts. The chamber glowed with an otherworldly light as human, Romulan, and alien technologies intertwined. Dana rushed to a nearby monitoring station, her fingers flying over the controls as she assessed Arthur's vital signs. His neural patterns are off the charts, she called out to Zara, who had joined them in the chamber. Krell appeared at the entrance, his ancient eyes taking in the scene. The merging has begun, he intoned solemnly. Your Arthur is now linked with the Planetary defense system. As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the city. Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the comm system. The solar flare. It's approaching faster than we anticipated, and it's much stronger than our initial readings suggested. Arthur, his consciousness now spread throughout the defense system, felt the first waves of solar radiation strike the planet. His body convulsed as he struggled to maintain the shield's integrity. Through the vast network of the city systems, he could sense the approaching danger, its intensity far surpassing their worst predictions. The shield won't hold, Zara cried out, her eyes fixed on the fluctuating energy readings. Dana, her face etched with worry, made a split-second decision. I'm going in, she announced, moving towards the connection chamber. Zara grabbed her arm, her silver eyes flashing with concern. Dana, it's too dangerous. We don't know what linking another consciousness to the system will do. But Dana's mind was made up. She gently removed Zara's hand and stepped into the chamber. Arthur needs help. I won't stand by and watch him sacrifice himself. As Dana connected to the system, her consciousness merged with Arthur's. Together, they became a vast, interconnected network, their combined strength reinforcing the planetary shield. The strain on their bodies was immense, but their shared perseverance held firm against the onslaught of the solar flare. Outside the chamber, chaos erupted. Commander Vex, seizing the opportunity presented by the crisis, had overpowered his guards and was making his way to the central computer core. His goal? Dana's research data on the energy manipulation technology. Admiral Chen, alerted to the security breach, quickly assembled a team. Secure all access points to the computer core, he ordered as they moved through the city's corridors. We cannot let Vex get his hands on that data. As the solar flare reached its peak intensity, Arthur and Dana's linked consciousness discovered something unexpected within the planetary defense system. They realized they could do more than just shield against the solar energy. They could redirect it. We can use the flare to power the city. Arthur's thoughts resonated through Dana's mind. But it's risky. The energy influx could overload our bodies. We have to try, Dana responded, her commitment matching his own. It's our only chance to save everyone. Together, they began the delicate process of absorbing and channeling the solar radiation. The entire underground city vibrated with power as they redirected the energy, recharging the depleted reserves and boosting the city's systems. In the computer core, Commander Vex had managed to download a portion of Dana's research before Admiral Chen and his team cornered him. The Romulan commander stood with his back to the main console, a data crystal clutched in his hand. "It's over, Vex," Admiral Chen said, his phaser aimed steadily at the Romulan. "Surrender the data and come quietly." Vex's eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape route. "You don't understand the power of this technology," he snarled. "The Romulan Empire needs it to survive." As they faced off, the energy surge from the redirected solar flare reached the computer core. The systems flickered, and in that moment of confusion, Vex made his move. He lunged for the exit, but Admiral Chen was faster. A well-aimed shot struck Vex's hand, sending the data crystal flying. It shattered against the floor, the information within lost forever. Back in the power core chamber, Arthur and Dana's vital signs were becoming erratic. The strain of channeling such vast amounts of energy was taking its toll on their bodies and minds. Zara worked frantically at the control panel, trying to find a way to safely disconnect them. "Their consciousness has become entangled with the alien technology," she explained to Krell, her voice tight with worry. "If we don't find a way to extract them soon, we might lose them both." As the solar flare began to subside, Zara made a breakthrough. Combining her knowledge of the alien technology with what she had learned from Dana's research, she devised a risky extraction procedure. "It's not guaranteed to work," she warned the others, "but it's our best chance to save them." With no other options, they agreed to proceed. As Zara initiated the extraction sequence, the chamber housing Arthur and Dana filled with a brilliant, pulsating light. Their physical forms blurred, seeming to merge with the energy surrounding them. In that moment, suspended between two worlds, Arthur and Dana's shared consciousness experienced a series of vivid, interconnected visions. They saw glimpses of possible futures, grand alliances between humans, Romulans, and the newly rediscovered alien civilization. They witnessed technological marvels born from the fusion of their diverse knowledge. But they also saw the potential for conflict, the dangers of this power falling into the wrong hands. As the extraction process reached its final stage, the light in the chamber intensified, becoming so bright that it obscured Arthur and Dana from view. The fate of the human commander and his brilliant scientist hung in the balance, their consciousness hovering between realities. The success of their extraction would not only determine their personal futures, but also shape the course of interstellar relations. As the light began to fade, everyone in the chamber held their breath, waiting to see what would emerge from the otherworldly glow. Light began to fade. Everyone in the chamber held their breath, waiting to see what would emerge from the otherworldly glow. Suddenly, the entire city plunged into darkness as a massive power surge coursed through the systems. For a moment, silence reigned, broken only by the frantic heartbeats of those present. As the emergency lights flickered to life, casting an eerie red glow throughout the chamber, the extraction pod's door slowly hissed open. Zara rushed forward, her silver eyes wide with anticipation and fear. As the mist cleared, two motionless forms became visible on the floor of the chamber. Arthur and Dana, their bodies intertwined, unmoving. "Medical team now!" Krell's voice boomed through the chamber, spurring everyone into action. Admiral Chen was already at Arthur's side, checking for vital signs. "They're alive, but barely," he reported, his voice tense with concern. Within moments, a joint medical team of humans, Romulans, and aliens swarmed into the room. They quickly but carefully transferred Arthur and Dana onto hover stretchers, their movements a choreographed dance of urgency and precision. As they rushed through the corridors towards the advanced medical bay, Zara kept pace, her eyes fixed on the monitors displaying Arthur and Dana's vital signs. The readings fluctuated wildly, a testament to the ordeal their bodies and minds had endured. "What happened in there?" Admiral Chen asked, matching Zara's stride. Zara shook her head, her brow furrowed. "I'm not sure. The energy readings were off the charts. It's as if their consciousness merged not just with each other, but with the very fabric of the city's systems. In the medical bay, a flurry of activity erupted as the team worked to stabilize Arthur and Dana. Krell oversaw the operation, his ancient eyes darting between the two humans and the array of advanced medical equipment surrounding them. Their neural patterns are unlike anything I've ever seen, one of the alien doctors reported, her voice a mix of awe and concern. Days passed, and Arthur and Dana remained in a coma-like state. The medical team worked tirelessly, combining their diverse knowledge and technologies in an attempt to revive them. Meanwhile, the diplomatic negotiations continued in their absence, with Krell and Admiral Chen stepping up to fill the void left by Arthur. On the fifth day, as Zara sat vigilantly by their bedsides, analyzing the latest data from the extraction process, she noticed a subtle change in their brainwave patterns. Before she could alert the medical team, Arthur's eyes snapped open, followed almost immediately by Dana's. Their gazes locked, a silent communication passing between them. Zara leaned forward, her heart racing. "Arthur? Dana? Can you hear me?" Arthur turned to her, his eyes seeming to look through her rather than at her. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper, yet it carried an otherworldly resonance. "Zara, we can hear you. We can hear everything." Dana nodded, her expression a mix of wonder and confusion. "The city, it's alive. We're connected to it all." Before Zara could process this startling development, alarms blared throughout the medical bay. Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the comm system, urgent and strained. "Security breach in the power core. Romulan extremists have infiltrated the facility." Arthur and Dana sat up in unison, their movements fluid and synchronized. "We can see them," Dana said, her eyes unfocused as if looking at something far beyond the walls of the medical bay. "8 intruders," Arthur continued, his voice overlapping with Dana's. "They're attempting to overload the core." Zara stared at them in disbelief. "How can you possibly know that?" "We're part of the system now," they replied in eerie unison. "We can guide your security teams to their location." As Admiral Chen led the security forces through the winding corridors of the underground city, Arthur and Dana's voices echoed in his earpiece, providing real-time updates on the extremist movements. The couple, still confined to their medical beds, worked in perfect harmony, their newfound connection to the city's systems, allowing them to manipulate energy flows and seal off escape routes. In the power core, Chen's team engaged the Romulan saboteurs in a fierce firefight. Energy weapons sizzled through the air, leaving scorch marks on the ancient walls. Chen ducked behind a console, narrowly avoiding a blast that would have taken his head off. "Admiral," Arthur's voice came through the comm, "we've managed to stabilize the core remotely. Focus on taking down the extremists." Chen nodded, a grim smile on his face. He signaled to his team, and they fanned out, using the complex architecture of the core to their advantage. The battle raged on, casualties mounting on both sides. In a moment of respite, Chen found himself face-to-face with the leader of the extremists, a scarred Romulan with hatred burning in his eyes. The two seasoned warriors circled each other, energy weapons discarded in favor of hand-to-hand combat. "Your empire is finished," Chen growled, blocking a vicious strike. "This technology belongs to all of us now." The Romulan leader snarled, launching a flurry of blows. "We'll never surrender our destiny to the likes of you." Their fight was a blur of strikes and counters, each combatant drawing on years of training and experience. In the end, Chen's superior agility won out. He caught the Romulan's arm mid-strike, using his opponent's momentum to flip him onto his back. With a decisive blow, Chen rendered the extremist leader unconscious, effectively ending the threat. As the dust settled and the remaining extremists were rounded up, attention turned back to Arthur and Dana. The medical team, still reeling from the couple's sudden awakening and inexplicable abilities, ran a battery of tests. "Their physiology has been fundamentally altered," the lead human doctor reported to Krell and Zara. "Their cognitive functions are off the charts, and there are entirely new neural pathways we can't even begin to understand." Zara leaned closer to the detailed holographic scans floating above Arthur and Dana's beds. "It's as if the alien technology has rewritten their very DNA," she mused, her scientific curiosity warring with concern for her friends. As Arthur and Dana regained their strength, they began to explore the extent of their new abilities. They found they could access vast databases of knowledge left behind by the original alien inhabitants, their minds processing and integrating information at an astonishing rate. "There's so much here," Dana said, her eyes wide with wonder as she interfaced with a terminal. "Histories of civilizations long gone, technologies we've never dreamed of." Arthur nodded, his own mind sifting through data streams invisible to others. "But it's more than just information. We can feel the pulse of this place, its rhythms and flows. It's overwhelming at times." Their enhanced state, however, came with its own set of challenges. Arthur and Dana found it increasingly difficult to relate to their colleagues and friends. Their constant connection to the city's systems and to each other created a sense of isolation, setting them apart from those around them. Zara, ever observant, recognized the unique position Arthur and Dana now occupied. As the various factions continued to debate the future of the alien technology and its implications for interstellar relations, she formulated a bold plan. In a tense meeting with representatives from all parties, Zara proposed the creation of a new governing body, with Arthur and Dana at its center, to oversee the development and use of the alien technology. The reaction was immediate and divided. "Absolutely not," Commander Vex's replacement snarled. "We cannot entrust such power to individuals, especially humans." Krell raised a hand, his ancient eyes filled with wisdom. "Perhaps this is precisely what we need. A bridge between our species and the legacy left behind by the original inhabitants." As the debate raged on, Arthur and Dana exchanged a look, their silent communication now deeper than ever. They had made a discovery that would change everything, a revelation that would force all parties to reevaluate their positions. Arthur stepped forward, his voice cutting through the arguments. "There's something you all need to know," he began, his tone grave. "In our exploration of the alien databases, we've uncovered evidence of an ancient threat, one that nearly wiped out all advanced civilizations in this galaxy eons ago." The room fell silent, all eyes turning to Arthur and Dana. The weight of their words hung in the air, the implications slowly sinking in. As they prepared to present their findings, the assembled representatives leaned forward. The petty squabbles of moments ago, forgotten in the face of a potentially galaxy-altering revelation. Donna's voice joined Arthur's, their words intertwining as they began to share what they had learned. "The choice before us is bigger than any one species or faction," they said. "The very survival of all our peoples may depend on what we decide here today." The stage was set for a decision that would ripple across the stars, altering the course of galactic history. As Arthur and Dana stood ready to present the full scope of their discovery, the tension in the room was palpable. The future hung in the balance, waiting to be shaped by the choices they would make in the coming moments. The assembled representatives leaned forward, their attention fully captured by the gravity in Arthur and Dana's voices. "What we've discovered is both terrifying and urgent," Arthur began, his eyes scanning the room. "An ancient threat, one that nearly eradicated all advanced life in our galaxy eons ago, is showing signs of reawakening." Dana stepped forward, her movements perfectly synchronized with Arthur's. "We've identified this threat as the Void Collective, a highly advanced parasitic species that consumes entire civilizations." A murmur of disbelief and fear rippled through the chamber. Admiral Chen's face hardened as he processed the implications. "How certain are you of this information?" "Our connection to the alien databases is complete and unambiguous," Arthur replied, his voice steady. "We've pinpointed the location of the Void Collective's dormant hive mind in an unexplored sector of space." The room erupted into chaos as representatives argued and shouted, their faces contorted with fear and anger. Krell raised his hands, his ancient voice cutting through the din. "Silence, we must approach this rationally." Admiral Chen stood, his posture rigid with drive. "We have no choice but to act. I propose the immediate formation of an interstellar alliance to confront this threat." As the implications sank in, the mood in the room shifted from panic to unbreakable spirit. Representatives from all factions began to nod in agreement, recognizing the need to set aside their differences in the face of this existential danger. In the days that followed, Arthur and Dana worked tirelessly, their enhanced abilities allowing them to process and synthesize vast amounts of information. They spent hours interfaced with the city's systems, their minds probing the depths of the alien knowledge left behind. Zara found them in the central control room, their eyes unfocused as streams of data flowed across holographic displays. "Arthur, Dana, you need to rest," she said, concern evident in her voice. Arthur blinked, slowly returning to awareness. "We can't afford to," he said, his voice hoarse from disuse. "The Void Collective is stirring. We can feel it." Donna nodded, her fingers dancing across an invisible interface. "We've detected energy signatures consistent with their technology. They're sending out probes, Zara, preparing for a galaxy-wide invasion." Zara's eyes widened as she absorbed this new information. "I'll inform Admiral Chen immediately. We need to accelerate our preparations." As Zara hurried off, Arthur and Dana exchanged a look, their silent communication more profound than ever. "We have to go with them," Dana said aloud, voicing their shared thought. Arthur nodded, a mixture of grit and fear in his eyes. "Our abilities make us essential to the mission's success, but the risks, we'll face them together," Dana finished, reaching out to take his hand. Their moment of connection was interrupted by the arrival of Admiral Chen, accompanied by Krell and a team of scientists and military personnel. "Arthur, Dana, we need your expertise," Chen said without preamble. "We're assembling a fleet, but we need your guidance on how to integrate our technologies with the ancient systems you've uncovered." For the next several days, the underground city was a hive of activity. Ships from all three species arrived, their crews working around the clock to prepare for the impending mission. Arthur and Dana were at the center of it all, their unique abilities proving invaluable in bridging the technological gaps between the different races. As the departure date approached, Zara and Krell presented Arthur and Dana with a specially designed neural interface. "This will allow you to maintain your connection to each other and the ship's systems," Zara explained, her eyes shining with pride at the accomplishment. "It should also protect your minds from overload." Arthur and Dana stood on the bridge of the flagship, a marvel of hybrid technology combining the best elements of human, Romulan, and ancient alien design. As the massive fleet prepared to depart, they felt the weight of responsibility settling on their shoulders. Admiral Chen approached them, his face set in unbreakable spirit. "Are you ready?" Arthur and Dana nodded in unison, their hands clasped tightly together. "As ready as we'll ever be," Arthur replied. The Admiral gave a curt nod and turned to address the fleet. "All ships, prepare for departure. Today we embark on a mission that will determine the fate of not just our civilizations, but all life in the galaxy." As the fleet engaged its engines, the underground city grew smaller in the view screens. Arthur and Dana shared one last look at the place that had brought them together and changed their lives forever. Then, with a burst of energy, the ships accelerated into the vastness of space, leaving their home behind and hurtling towards an uncertain future. The journey through deep space was fraught with challenges. Spatial anomalies warped the very fabric of reality around them, forcing Arthur and Dana to work in perfect synchronization with the navigation teams to plot safe courses. Automated defense systems left behind by long-extinct civilizations posed constant threats, requiring split-second decisions and precise maneuvering. Throughout these trials, Arthur and Dana's leadership proved invaluable. Their ability to interface directly with the ship's systems allowed for unprecedented reaction times and strategic coordination across the fleet. More than once, their quick thinking and unique capabilities saved lives and vessels from destruction. As they penetrated deeper into unexplored space, the signs of the Void Collective's stirring became more pronounced. Strange energy signatures pulsed through the void, and eerie distortions in space-time hinted at the awakening of something ancient and terrible. Arthur and Dana stood at the forefront of the bridge, their eyes closed as they interfaced with the ship's advanced sensors. Suddenly, their eyes snapped open in unison, a look of alarm spreading across their faces. "Admiral," Arthur called out, his voice tight with urgency, "we've detected a massive surge of activity from the Void Collective. They're accelerating their awakening process. Dana's fingers flew across a holographic display, bringing up a three-dimensional map of the sector. The probes we detected earlier are converging on this location, she said, indicating a pulsing red dot in the heart of uncharted space. We believe this is the location of their hive mind. Admiral Chen studied the map, his brow furrowed in concentration. How long do we have before they're fully awakened? Arthur and Dana exchanged a look, their silent communication conveying volumes. At their current rate, Arthur began, his voice grim, we have less than 48 hours before the Void Collective reaches full power. A tense silence fell over the bridge as the implications sank in. They were running out of time, and the future of the cosmos hung in the balance. As the fleet prepared for their final approach, Arthur and Dana knew that the true test of their abilities and their bond was yet to come.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.